What's it like being out here so far?
It's always good to come out here. When I reflect back on baseball, baseball was good to me. New York was good to me. The Mets organization was good to me. Growing up in this organization and playing at the highest level and being successful and winning and playing on some great teams, and I mean some great teams. It was a lot of fun to be able to do that. That's all you got?
Looking at this roster right now, what do you think the ceiling for this team is?
I think it's a change. I think it's a different direction. As you look at every player that they have brought in as the new players, they know how to play baseball. They've been playing baseball a long time, and they're great athletes, and it takes a lot to be able to, make that transition from one place to another place. And I think they do well. These guys know how to play. So a lot of times people won't discredit athletes and say, well, they this and they that. They have to make adjustments. Of course, you have to make adjustments. Baseball is a game that you always have to adjust to, and we had to do it over and over from building our team until we got to that place to be a team where Davey Johnson felt like, okay, we got a championship team now. And that's what happened when Carter came and Ray Knight came over for us and blended it with the younger players that we had, and they kind of have the same thing here. I know it's very challenging when you got to start over, but at some point, you got to do something and go. And if you're still standing in the same place and you're not getting to where you want to get, that's really hard. I mean, they got to the National League Championship Series that one year. Which was great, and then they come back and you have to win one ball game, and you don't win one ball game to get into a playoff. It's a disappointing season for such a talented team.
Do you know much about Carson Benj, and just what do you think of the opportunity he has to make the opening day roster in the outfield?
I don't know much about the young man, but I hear great things about him. I think this organization has really done a great job developing the younger players again. As you can see, a lot of them are starting to really click. Beatty came alive last year. You get a chance. He was a young player that was on his way up. So when you develop your guys the right way, which they have done, and you see they had to trade some of them, but is that always a good sign? No, but that just tells you how good they are. And so I think looking at him, he's probably a kid that's got a chance to flourish here, and he's young. Sometimes you gotta put the young players out there and you gotta let them learn. It's hard lessons, but once they figure it out, just like I did, I was 24 when we won. I thought we was gonna win every year, and it just didn't happen. So
obviously, a lot of faces have changed and leadership over the years since you stopped playing. What do you think is when you come back to camp? What's the same about the Mets as in your day? What are the constants about this organization?
Let's win. That's what I always think about when I think about them and when I think about the ownership. Man, I wish I could play for a guy like Steve. I mean, he's a great owner, and he puts everything out there. Him and his wife puts everything out there for the organization to be better. And you can't ask for anything else. I mean, all you got to do is get the pieces together and the players together, and hopefully they can click together and they can figure it out. New York is, like I said before, I always will say New York is very difficult to play in, and you have to have thick skin, and I think that's what's really important for all these guys coming in. As I, chat around with them, tell them have fun, leave the noise out, the outside noise, focus on what's in the clubhouse, like we did. Did we always get along? No, but you know what? When we hit the field, we cared so much about each other, and that's what's important when you have to play in a city like this. You got to care about your teammates, and you got to be together. Team chemistry is so important, and I think that was so important for us and what we developed over those years. With Carter and Keith, being leaders for us, and Ray Knight, and it helped the younger players learn how to play the game the right way. So when you look back over your career, you're truly thankful for that. And I know I am, because I had the opportunity to play with some really great leaders. anymore. What? Oh, they didn't ask me nothing about it. Who's going to ask the question?
Sounds like you think you made a mistake.
Sound like what?
You think he made a mistake?
I wasn't personally, I was talking about the mistakes that I made of leaving. And, this is not about me and Pete, I love Pete. Pete was great. I had a great relationship with him and talks with him. And I always had hope that, he would stick around and be the guy to break all the numbers. I mean, as far as a homegrown player, we really hadn't had you only had a certain amount that had come through the organization, and he was one of us. He's one of us, and you get a lot of other players in trades and this and that, but, I ended up with a lot of regrets, for leaving. And one day, you wake up and you feel that inside of yourself after you've played in one place and you was loved by the fans, and now all of a sudden you're no longer there. It's heartbreaking. I was shocked, to see the fact that it was going to be over for him, especially after breaking my home run record, that stood for so long, and there was more records that he could have put, his name on and been at the top, as a player that came through the organization from the bottom up and built his way up. So, I don't want nobody. I don't want any people to make a big thing out of this. I'm not down here for that. It's done and it's over. He's over there, and it's not a negative thing. I didn't want to make this out of a negative thing. I was trying to make sure this is a positive thing about his career and coming through the organization and what he accomplished. It's hard to do that when you a young player like all of us have been, like David Wright, myself, Doc, Reyes, DeGrom. We all come through this organization, and we were very successful through that process, and he was very successful through that process too.
Have you spoken to him since he signed?
No, I haven't. I haven't spoken to him, and sometimes you just got to let things go, let him move on, let him move forward with his new club, and wish him all the best, success playing in Baltimore. But New York is New York. That's basically all I would say. New York is New York.
Were you surprised that the Mets never actually made him an offer to come back?
I don't know anything about that. I wasn't into, those decisions with them, and I was talking about Pete from the player standpoint of what he meant to this organization, just like some of the other guys that came through this organization. And like I said, it's not many of us. It's only a few of us that have come through this organization and from the ground up and had success in New York. And that's very hard to do. And hopefully some of these other younger guys will get that opportunity to do that too.
Would you like to speak to Pete?
No, it's not my place. I have my own personal life. Pete has his own personal life. But like I said, he's a wonderful guy. He always was. He always was a complete gentleman to me, and I was to him, and I always had respect for him. I had respect for what he was accomplishing, and I'm just so happy he made a decision for him and his family. And that's what players do, make a decision for you and your family and what's best.
And speaking of your personal journey, you have got a book. You're now author.
Yeah, thank you. I basically didn't want to do another book, but all these companies come after me all the time about doing another book. I told them this is my last book. I'm not doing any more books. It's called Another Life, and what I do, personally in my life and travel. I travel like 270 times out of the year, helping people, just all walks of life, and it's fun. It's different than what baseball was, hitting home runs and people cheering. And going into places where people are looking for me to bring a word of hope, of faith. How did I get to where I'm at? I got through here through the trials and tribulations and the storms of life, and it's made me. I know my mother is looking down, and she's probably saying, "About time," because that's what she always wished for, and she got her wishes, and I'm truly thankful for the fact that she loved me enough keep me in prayer and keep me covered to become the man I am today. Her and my wife has been centerpiece of who I am today, and my new book is coming out August 11th, and I'm excited about it because it's not about baseball. I mean, it has some baseball things in there, and it talks about my wife's health, and it talks about a lot of areas and communities that I go into where people are struggling and they need hope, and so I guess I was the guy that was chosen to bring the hope. So I enjoy it.